Smith from Smithville. There were a lot of Smiths, especially Smithville.
Well, it used to be. That's the other thing. That's just
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. You can stand for the pledge, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You. Roll call.
Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
Commissioner Walter.
Here.
Commissioner Bonnet.
Present.
Commissioner Wessel.
Here.
Commissioner Campbell.
Here and present.
Commissioner Allgaier. Here. Chairman Yoder.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Next up, we got approval of board minutes. Looks like we got 6 sets of minutes to approve here tonight, so I understand we can do that all in one motion, so. Great motion.
I move we accept the regular session minutes of Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Tuesday, December 30th, 2025. Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. Executive Board, February 10th, 2026. Regular session, February 17th, 2026. And Executive Board, Tuesday, March 10th, 2026.
Second. Moved and supported. Discussion? Not? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried 7-0. Thank you. Next up, we have approval of the agenda. Any late additions or deletions? I believe we got one late addition here that you have on your desk regarding the resignation of our drain commissioner. Why don't we just add that 3D? 3D, yep.
That we covered under 3C.
Oh,
There you go. Sure.
yeah, why don't we just cover, can we do that? Would we be allowed to do that? Sure. Okay, yeah, let's do that. We
I
don't,
mean, unless someone says you
it
can't.
has a different, it's a different EDS, but I don't,
You just had accept resignation.
yeah, we'll just add to that except resignation or something, add to that item. Thank you, Commissioner Robbins. You have your hand up.
I would like to, on consent, take off for tonight and move to the executive in April. I think we need more information and at least I feel we do 3A, B, and C.
Okay. So just taking it off the agenda as a whole.
For just tonight, come back in the executive in April with more details.
I think we have to move it down to
Yeah,
action.
just
item
move it down to
then-
action items and then we can deal with it.
do that.
Okay, so move it down to action.
I would like to request removal of the human resources. I just have a copy of it here, but it certainly wasn't made available to the public. And I think I don't think it was, unless it somehow it got out there, but I don't think it was included in our package.
Okay, let's deal with Commissioner Robbins first. Let's move that down. We'll just move it down to, are you okay with 4, making it a 4?
Yeah,
Okay, move that all down to 4. And then we'll talk about it then. And then your comment was,
well, at the last meeting, I said, we really need the public a chance to air this. This has been going on for years. And then we get a copy today, and
so what are you requesting?
I'm requesting that go on to our next.
Well, we can take that action when we still have, it's on our agenda, so that discussion can happen when we get to that point.
It's not in the consent agenda.
Yeah. Any other changes or additions or deletions? Not, I'll take a motion. Mr. Wessel,
Move to accept the agenda as amended.
Second.
supported, discussion? Not, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carried 7-0. All right, next up, we've got conflicts of interest. Do we have any commissioners here that have a conflict with items on the agenda tonight? All right, now, we'll move on to communications and go for one from our administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple items for discussion this evening. First of all, late this afternoon, I got notice from the facilities department, Dwayne Plaska specifically, that we had a problem, a fault indicator on the Cummins powered diesel generator that covers the law enforcement center. We got a fault notification on that indicating that backup batteries needed replacement. We did a service call as part of our existing service contract for the general maintenance of that item. And we replaced the batteries at a cost of $900 for the pair, which would be normally within our purchasing authority. During that replacement, however, further testing showed that the service call was needed for the control boards for that generator and for the transfer switch. That's the control board that permits the automatic activation of the generator when there's a power loss. They were determined to be in a failure state and they needed to be replaced. This afternoon, I did authorize on an emergency basis the replacement of those control boards. We don't know the exact price. We've been indicated, the indication is they'll be somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000, and a lot of that depending on the cost of the installation. The boards themselves are proprietary boards that control the Cummins generators themselves. They're not something that we can get off the shelf. We are required to use their proprietary parts in that repair, so we're not really capable of either bidding the parts themselves or the replacement, because it requires a Cummins authorized repair service technician to do that. We hope to have those installed this week as soon as possible, because the generator, if there were to be a power outage at the law enforcement center, would require manual activation. And so there'd be a potential loss of power in the jail for a period of time if that were to occur. So on that basis, I authorized the emergency replacement of those parts. In another note, we do have a new finance staff member that is expected to start this week. And if not for the snowfall that we all experienced the last couple of days, would have started on Monday. But she is experienced accounts payable and payroll manager at a mid-sized company. She is asked specifically to work on a part-time basis, and we intend to focus her hours around the time when it would be most useful for the processing of payroll. And I again hope to have her starting yet this week. We did, and I understand comments by Commissioner Campbell, clerk, myself, and legal counsel have been meeting pretty regularly, at least by telephone, and to discuss the HR resolution as you directed us to do last month. My understanding from Mr. Narkford is that he's prepared a document that he believes satisfies the issues that the board wants to have addressed. It meets all qualifications that I would have for that, and I support its adoption based upon the conversations that I've had with him and with Clerk Michelle Crocker. I know that the clerk has some concerns about it, and I know that she quite correctly says that a number of these things have already occurred, but none of them, to my knowledge, have ever been specifically authorized or ratified by the board itself as appropriate for transfer. So for that reason, I would ask that you approve that resolution has been prepared by legal counsel. That's my report, Mr. Chair.
Questions for our administrator? Mr. Robbins?
On the part for the generator, you don't want to spend money, but prices, parts are only going up. Would it be better to have one on the shelf in the future?
I actually asked about that. I think probably not. The board itself was original to the generator in 2005. It's lasted for 20 years. I don't think it's likely to result in another fault. We could possibly do that, but I don't know that it'd be worth an additional double the price, because we would have, if we were going to do that, we'd have to also authorize its installation at the time. Well, we could have one on the shelf, as you indicated, but given the fact that the previous, or the current board has lasted for over 20 years, I don't think that it's necessary to have one on the shelf.
So if we got 21 years out of it, it's safe to say that this board here, the owner would be the only one buy around in 20 years. So.
Well, I can certainly speak for myself. That would certainly be the case. But yeah, I think we're as fine as we could be on that. In fact, the only likelihood is if there would be something like a power surge that would take it out, but they're protected, otherwise from that kind of fall. And they lasted for 20 years in the past, so. I will explore that as a possibility.
That's fine. I just wanted to throw it out there. Sometimes it's cheaper to buy parts now.
Very true.
Any other questions for our administrator?
Just that, I saw that movie where the power goes out in the jail. So yeah, I'm glad you got it.
Yeah, it's not pretty when that happens. No, it's not.
There's no other questions. We'll move on to public comment. The first one we have is a 1-minute general topics of county concern. Do we have any members that wish to give a 1-minute general topic of public comment? Oh, Mr. Sausage?
Start too early now.
I didn't start.
Good morning, Commissioner. Good evening, Commissioners. My comments relate directly to the Finance Department resolution on tonight's agenda. Most residents support and expect modernization of resource and if it reduces total government expense. At the same time, recent events have raised important questions. The Finance Director, who is publicly commended on numerous occasions for performing her role well, was unexpectedly fired. The Assistant Finance Director resigned, and a well-written exit letter by a remaining staffer alleged not only that internal controls concerns, but also serious workplace concerns. We understand that a review or investigation is now underway, and that is appropriate. But if those concerns are serious enough to warrant investigation, then why would the board vote tonight to further consolidate authority before the facts are known? These are serious concerns, and they deserve careful and independent review. Thank you.
Any other public comment on the 1 minute item, county concern? Ma'am?
Hello, I'm Jeannie Houle from Suttons Bay Township. And I don't usually speak at meetings like this, but over the past year, many in our community, including myself, have grown increasingly concerned about the pattern of issues surrounding the administrator and how they're being handled. As a woman, I believe every workplace should be one where people feel safe, respected, able to speak up without fear or intimidation. I simply hope this board will take these concerns seriously and ensure they are reviewed fairly and openly. Thank you for listening, and I wish you luck. Godspeed.
Thank you. Any other public comment on the 1 minute county concern? Kelly?
Good evening. The finance department appears to be in a period of transition right now with limited institutional knowledge, new and developmental personnel, and a reduced access to experimental internal support. At the same time, the county must manage payroll, year-end close, and financial reporting. These functions require experience and continuity. When this is disrupted, risk increased. We also understand that experienced financial and operational knowledge still exists within the county. Individuals who previously helped stabilize the department and trained key personnel during prior transitions. At a time when risk appears elevated, the priority should be stability and continuity. To the extent that experienced internal person support is available, it should be utilized. Because the risk is elevated, the focus should be on protecting the system, not limiting access to expertise. This is not about personality, it's about protecting the county and its taxpayers. Thank you.
Any other public comment? One check.
Superintendent Leland, I just want a little review of the finance department. We heard the phrase disgruntled employee, and the public record shows something different. One employee submitted a detailed letter documenting risk and control concerns. An assistant finance director left, citing professional standards and accountability concerns. A third person, after evaluating the situation, declined to join the organization. In fact, that candidate clearly stated her decision was based upon what she observed in the department, not personal preference. These aren't emotional reactions, they are professional decisions. One left, one stepped away, one chose not to enter. They all had similar concerns. That's not disgruntlement, it's professional judgment made based on experience, standards, and a willingness to speak up even when it comes at a personal or professional cost.
One check.
I am Lawrence Bunchek. I live in Leland. I had longer comments, but in the possibility that 1 minute is my limit, I will make it brief. There seems to be a problem in the finance department, doesn't there? Nobody wants to work there. It's been a problem for a long time. What is the real problem? I don't know. And frankly, I don't think you do either. What do you intend to do about it? Tell us. you and we need an in-depth investigation by a professional agency that will render an objective and unbiased report that will be the basis for corrective measures. That agency should not, cannot be the county's attorneys, who will have to defend the county in any resulting legal action which seems likely to occur. We pay you to get this resolved. You can delegate authority, but you cannot escape responsibility. Go to work. Thank you.
The public comment on the 1 minute, Mr. White?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Jim White from Suttons Bay. This is no longer a single concern. It is a pattern. The candidate declined a role after evaluating the situation. An assistant finance director resigned, citing professional concerns. Finance department employees submitted a formal exit letter documenting loss of financial controls, compromised dual controls, and workplace concerns. And these people are not in identical roles. They are not coordinated voices. They are independent professionals reaching similar conclusions. And notably, this was immediately after a period when the finance department was publicly described by county leadership as stable and praised for its performance. Despite that, the finance director was summarily fired during the same period, reportedly for a single conversation with an elected official. At some point, it is no longer about who is speaking. It is about what they are all saying. Please listen. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
David Kiesel, Bay Township. This is a follow-up to the letter I had to the Little Enterprise. Just a little cap. I lived here a long time. When something doesn't feel right, it usually isn't. And right now, this doesn't feel right. Another part down here is working for Mr. Dyer, the new person in the finance department. Of course, going to be part-time and probably temporary. Thank you.
Get a public comment on the 1 minute? All right, if not, we'll move on to the 3 minutes, which is this agenda specific. I request that you come up to address which agenda item you address, Mr. Midas.
Good evening, Commissioners. It's been a while since I've been here. I wouldn't have come. However, as a former business owner who spent decades responsible for financial oversight, I learned one lesson very clearly. When question arises about financial controls, you slow down. You make sure you understand the full situation before making any structural changes. Many residents have seen the letter. This is a letter of the current employee, or just current resigned employee. This is not a routine resignation letter. It raises serious concerns about the department how the department was operating during the critical period. Among other things, the letter describes a situation where important financial responsibilities were handled by a single remaining employee. The normal separation of duties safeguards may have been compromised. Those are exactly the types of internal controls and risks that auditors typically review very carefully before expanding administrative authorities over the finance department. Though the resolution is on tonight's agenda, many residents still hope the board will ensure those concerns are fully understood. This morning, I reread the resignation letter of Elizabeth Gray, another valued employee. It concerned me greatly. As a former business owner of over 100 employees, I, for the most part, valued my employees as assets to my business. I found it very costly and disruptive to replace them. Mr. Dyer's management, which I classify as fear and intimidation, which clearly does not work, creates a toxic environment, disruption, and significant liability to the county. We citizens and taxpayers of Leelanau County sincerely hope the commissioners get enough courage to step up and remedy this problem. Mr. Dyer seems to be at the center of several controversial problems. I am aware he was not hired by the current board, but the previous administration, which was led by Mr. Wetzel. It's time to stop the bleeding. Thank you.
Any other public comments? 3 minutes? Yes.
Karen Zamitis from Leland. Good evening, everyone. As someone who previously served on the board, I know how important transparency and open discussion are to maintaining the public trust. A written exit letter raising serious concerns about the finance department is now widely known throughout our county. As we understand it, the letter describes not only risks related to finance controls, but also troubling descriptions of a workplace environment that no employee should have to experience. When several professionals connected to the same department raise concerns in a short period of time, that deserves careful review. When information like that reaches the board, commissioners have a responsibility to review it carefully and to discuss it openly before voting on major structural changes. Many residents are simply asking the board to pause and make sure those concerns are fully understood before moving forward with the finance department resolution. Does it make sense to give more power and control, even overview, to someone who appears to already be having so much trouble with what he has now? I believe this is a very serious problem which needs your attention, input, and action. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Tossage. You only have 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Good, I'm Steve Tostage from Solon Township. This is related to the Finance Department resolution. Good evening. Residents are not asking for conclusions tonight. We're asking for a responsible process, specifically a clearly defined independent investigation, full scope, including workplace conduct and financial controls, in-person interviews with all Finance Department personnel, former employees, department heads, and relevant candidates, a process where employees can speak freely without fear or influence. And during that process, appropriate separation between the subject of the review and day-to-day staff interaction. This is not punitive. It is standard practice to ensure credibility. And finally, a temporary pause on major structural changes until these concerns are fully understood. This is how organizations protect themselves. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Mr. Mikowski?
Good evening. First of all, about control modules. We had a very enjoyable experience within the last week ourselves. A high efficiency furnace installed 15 years ago that required a control module, one of two, 2 years ago at the price of $800. We had another failure, and this time the same module failed in 2 years. The new module was installed, and with much troubleshooting, we find that the furnace still would fire, but no fuel. It was discovered there's a second module, which cost $400, and it failed because the first module was communicating the wrong voltage to that second module. So I caution you as you deal with modules, electronic equipment is very sensitive to electrical spikes and that. And if we can get anything electromechanical, that would be the best positive way to go. Anything with electronic modules are all going to be subject to the same vagaries of however they behave or want to behave. Another matter, we gave each of you a book on civility from the Mackinac Center. Very interesting book. I believe that this county should also hold a special defining moment for civility with the public. It has been needed since May 11th, 2021. I'll continue on that there was a recitation of issues this county has. Whatever they are, they seem to be quite real and not imagined. The media does poor journalism all the way around. The public gets very little proper information. And this is dealing with the finance department as such. I do not believe all the information that was given to this board tonight by the various public is bogus. If you believe that, you may be unfit to serve in public office. Again, I'll repeat that. If you believe all information that's been going on regarding the management of the finance and human resources since May 11, 21, you may be unfit for public office. The finance resolution, we respectfully request this action be tabled to allow all commissioners the ability as part of their fiduciary duty to carefully evaluate before approving such a significant change in the handling of Leelanau County finances. We also request that this commission hold a public hearing on this matter to accept public input before taking such action, which is unknown territory. We have not seen any report from anywhere telling us that this recommendation is very successful in any way in any other county. We're unaware of that. If you have seen a report, please contact me.
Thank you, Mr. Mikowski. Your 3 minutes are up.
Continue this at the end of the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, now we'll move on to commissioner comments. Mr. Robbins?
I'd like to start off the last, 4 or 5 days here. A little rough for everybody here, but normally I like to say thanks to county roads. Great job they did, but I want to go a step further. Let's thank all the private people that plowed our driveways so we could get here tonight. And I'd like to thank Dwayne Flask and his crew and all the hard work they did around here during the storm. They were here trying to keep this parking lot open. So that's off to Dwayne and his crew.
Any other commissioner comments? Mr. Allgaier?
Yes. I want to thank all of you for your abiding interest in the welfare of our county. I used to sit out there. It takes a certain amount of interest and consistency and persistence. So I applaud your interest. I do want to say that we've been in a process that's been pretty ugly. for 4 or 5 years. And a very unfortunate process. A good idea not done well has had repercussions and stumbled as we go towards the conclusion that was a sound one. 15 years ago, the finance and HR department were put in the clerk's office. That doesn't always happen. There had been separate departments. Change is hard. And there's a tremendous amount of resistance to change. But it does need to happen. I'd love to say this has been smooth. It hasn't. There are things the public just doesn't know. And we're not going to sit up here and be tattletales. We're not going to talk about any underlying and undercurrents that we know about that are real. Because we're not into bad mouthing. But we do want our finance department and our HR department to finally function. And perhaps in this case, it took for everyone who was with the old system, who didn't want to change, to finally leave and start off anew. Sometimes that's what change demands. So I hope that you will all, again, I applaud your interest, but I hope that you will all understand that none of this has been taken on lightly. None of it. We have the good of the county as our mandate. We need to finish this process. It needs not to drag out longer. The ugliness needs to stop. And we can start anew with new employees who are open to new ways, not resistant to change, but bringing new ideas, new ways of doing things. So I hope you'll trust. I do thank you for your interest. And I applaud our administrator. This has been really difficult and ugly. And I am sorry and ashamed that he's been treated the way he's been treated. And I applaud his diligence in working this out so that we have a sound, strong, growing finance and HR department.
A year ago, you said the finance department was
Oh,
stable.
hold on,
and
Susie, hey. Thank you.
That's it, I'm done.
Commissioner Campbell?
I agree with most of what you said there. It has been difficult, and I like the idea that I think that these two resolutions have a different tone. I think we're getting there. We've recently received, and you guys, our administrator and our clerk, sat down in the same room, talked to each other. I think that's a good start. And I'm not sure how that has happened, but I don't think too long.
It's a lot more than you might expect.
Well, let me ask about, is your finance department, do they ask the clerk if they have questions? You haven't said, don't ask the clerk questions.
In fact, just today, I had a conversation with Jennifer Zwick concerning an issue that related to one of the budget amendments that you are going to consider tonight.
But among your staff anyways, that's,
Yes.
you've not said that. Okay,
Assistant position.
thank you.
No.
Thank you. Well, that's, we've
It's
received
public
two
comment
documents
or
that
it's
said
just
that.
public comment. Should just be comment.
Commissioner comments, if you got questions with items on the agenda, we can discuss that at that agenda item, but so,
Ask that question.
Commissioner Robbins?
One thing I want to add, what I forgot, and I apologize to him, is the men and women across the street, they also, they worked during the storm, the sheriff department, corrections and dispatchers. I mean, some of them didn't get to go home, and I've got to add them to that list too.
You're kind of stealing my thunder because I was gonna, but I just wanted to give a
Yes,
shout
sir.
out to, I understand just talking here, Jordan Kiesel and Dwayne Blaskett were, I mean, my understanding they were here all weekend plowing everything out. I was told, got a call Monday morning that there was a big 4-foot drift in front of the door and they were begging to just shut down, shut it down for a day so we have time to clean up. And I understand there was broken equipment and they worked their butts off to just try to get this building open, and I want to give them a shout out. And next is the road commission. I mean, from my understanding, they had full crew out Sunday night, Monday, every day. I mean, from my understanding, up to 15 days that they've been going hard at it, and some of these roads are still not open. So, and from what I'm understanding is, or from what I've been hearing, some of them have even slept in different fire departments just to be there the next day to get going, so they don't have to go back home and come back. So, I want to thank them for that. The sheriff's office for being out there patrolling the roads, keeping everybody safe and through the storm. I understand we had a road closed on 72, their help on that. And last of all, 911 dispatch. I mean, they field a lot of calls through this, where they had to direct a lot, and all that. So I think they deserve our kudos just for the work they did. And then the staff of this county just being at home for 2 days and coming back to work. You had a short week, so I know there's a lot to catch up with on that. So, I think they deserve thanks, but also we had a couple, I'm understanding there was a couple retirements early this year that we, for some reason, didn't recognize. So I want to recognize a few of those individuals. One was from the prosecutor's office, Lori Lacrosse, who put in 33 years, retired earlier this year. And then we had a couple from the corrections department as well. We got Deborah Emmerich. She had 20 years service to the county where she retired. And then John Fortin, he put in 27 years in the corrections department, and Carrie Garden put in 33 years. So I just want to thank them for their service to the county and all the hard work they put in. That's a lot of shoes to fill there, and a lot of bodies to replace as well. So I think they need to be commended for the years of service they put this county here. So we'll get these signed and get them in the mail. That way they can have them and go from there. So those are my comments. So. Anybody else have any follow-up ones? No? Buddy?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I don't believe that what the public said was ugly. I would never describe it as ugly. And I would say I really appreciate what they had said. I believe they come here honestly and gave us some very good points. And I just hope that we can follow through on those and do what they're recommending. I just think that we have to work that way and look at it that, and I would never, but I'm sorry that you got it. They said that it was ugly.
Mr. Walter?
A couple things. We've been on temporary pause on implementing this change since 2021. And this board, have been talking about these resolutions for months. We've gone back and forth with personnel, we've gone back and forth with department heads, we've gone back and forth with the attorney. Now we got our final resolution. This has been an ongoing process since I was elected this time. All right, so we've done our temporary pause. We've done our due diligence, and we are elected to make these decisions. And I really don't appreciate the fact that every month, every day, every meeting, somebody comes in and tells us we don't know what we're doing and we shouldn't be here. All right, I think we need a little bit of credit. Where credit is due. We're all professionals, we're all due diligent, and we've been working on this. A little bit of faith from the community would be appreciated. I don't talk much, but I mean what I say.
Right, that will make it light and go on to our consent agenda. I'll just read a quick statement here. The purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one motion without discussion. Any commissioner may ask that any item on the consent agenda be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected and will not need a second. Is there any items that anybody wishes to remove from the consent agenda? Not, Mr. Walter?
We already did that. didn't we?
Yep.
Okay.
But I just need a motion.
Someone,
I'll support.
All right, motion made, supported. We'll go at the roll call.
Commissioner Walter,
yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Chairman Yoder,
Yes.
Commissioner Allgaier,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonnet,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
No.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
6-1.
Thank you. First on our action item, we have number 1, which is Parks and Rec, which is the resolution in support of MNRTF application for accessible playground at Miles Kimberly. That's that.
Basically, it's what was presented to you in the public hearing at 6 o'clock this morning. It's the executive summary that you received. We're asking that you approve a request to, or authorize us to support a resolution to pursue that grant. It is in the packet as on page 2. Page 2. It's essentially to authorize the application.
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the intent to apply for applications for the spring 20, no, is that right?
No.
No, so it is action number 1.
Yep.
I move that Leelanau County Board of Commissioners move the resolution of support for MNRTF grant for accessible playground and equipment at Miles Kimberly County Park forward to.
How about read the one that's next to you?
All right.
Motion.
Well, we've got 2 I moves. Okay, I move Leelanau County Board approve present Leelanau County Resolution 2026 XXX. Leelanau County submission of MIDNR trust fund grant for an accessible playground at Miles Kimberly Park.
Second. The Park Commission member. Second by Commissioner Campbell. Discussion? All right, no, I believe that's a resolution, so we'll do a roll call.
Commissioner Walter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Yoder,
Yes.
Commissioner Allgaier,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonnet,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins.
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you. Next up, we have under administration, we got the 2% allocation intent and approval to apply. First, we got the Inland Seas Education Association Education Center. Motion, Commissioner Allgaier.
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the intent to apply and prepare applications for the spring 2026 2% allocations to the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians for Inland Seas Education Association Center in the amount of $15,000.
Supported, discussion? Commissioner Money?
Yeah, again, I would say that Inland Seas has just been given over $5 million in donations. And now we're asking for the casino's property tax, which is meant for government issues, to be donated to them as you know, to continue growing their grant or their funds. So I just believe that this is the wrong way to use the casino's property tax.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carried 5-2. Next up, we got item number 2, OI. 5 loaves, 2 fish. Mr. Wessel?
I move the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the intent to apply and prepare applications for the spring 2026 2% allocations to the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians for the 5 loaves, 2 fish, Northwest Michigan, to supplement protein for weekly meal deliveries in the amount of $14,000.
Support.
Supported, discussion? Mr. Money?
Again, this is basically a donation to a nonprofit, and we're using the casino's property tax to give donations, and that is just the wrong way to use the government funds. So it should be going to local governments, even if it doesn't go here. I believe the last allocation, more than 50% of the things that were applied for were denied. Yet we ended up giving funds to the charities. And so we have governments that aren't getting funds, and we are deciding to give it to charities. And again, I've been consistent about this, and I do believe that we're handling this very wrong.
Yes, you have been consistent.
Mr. Algar?
I would just like to say this is a wonderful cause, and I think it's always a good thing to help to make sure people have food and healthy food.
Mr. Money?
Yeah, I agree. It is a wonderful cause, and I do think they do wonderful work. I just think that we do have our social programs here, whether it's senior services or early childhood. So the county is already giving out to the people, back to the people, over $2 million. So I think, again, this is just another way that we're using the casino tax dollars for another nonprofit. And though that I think they're great. I do.
Any other discussion? Not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carried 5-2. Mr. Campbell?
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the intent to apply and prepare applications for the spring 2026 2% allocations to the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians for the replacement and installation of an ADA ramp, stairs, and ADA dock at Old Settlers Park in the amount of $80,000. Support.
Supported, discussion? Mr. Money?
See, that this is something that I believe the 2% was meant for, that their property tax would go with something that benefits all the people in the county and it helps out our local government.
Mr. Campbell?
The reason this is not in the consent agendas, because I voted no last time, and I voted no, was because the Park Commission had not had a chance to officially make a recommendation. Patrick, you did a good job getting everything out in front, and it looks like a really good application. I'm just kind of a process guy, and I wanted to go before the Parks Commission first. Thank you.
You did a great job.
Any other discussion? Not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried 7-0. All right, next up, we have item 2B, which is the interceptor replacement acquisition.
Yes, that's the 2019 Ford Interceptor that had in excess of 100,000 miles that unfortunately was involved in a car gear accident. We're receiving, from our insurance, frankly, more than I think the vehicle is worth, just about $9,000 plus the cost of removing the police-related equipment. We're giving the salvage value to the insurance, to MMRMA, our risk management insurance company. And what the motion is to authorize the use of those funds to partially defray the cost of leasing a new interceptor for its replacement.
Shogger,
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners utilize the funds from the buyout of the total 2019 Ford Police Interceptor to lease a new Ford Police Interceptor from Enterprise Fleet Management.
Commissioner Wessel, discussion? Commissioner Money?
Yeah, I believe that this just leads us farther down the road of leasing and not owning our cars, so. I do not think that, I think we are always better off owning rather than leasing cars. So I'm gonna vote no for this.
Any other discussion? Right, not all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carried 6-1. Next up, we've got item number 2C, which is the Human Resources Resolution. Motion.
I move the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the presented Leelanau County Resolution to 2026. Resolution to transfer human resources accounting and payroll duties and responsibilities to the administrator using the county's finance and human resource managers. Correct.
Supported, discussion?
Am I the only one who just received this?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
No one else received it until today? Can we table it? Can we talk about tabling it until at least give us a chance to read it and digest it and give the public a chance to look at it? This is pretty unconventional, to say the least. We didn't have a copy when we put it forward. At that time, I said, you know, if I can get a copy and we can get it to the public, so it's in our packet, then it makes sense to actually take action on it. But I think we're pushing the public out of the process, not giving them a chance to participate. And I would ask that we wait.
Mr. Algar, then Mr. Wessel.
We could take a 5-minute break, give us a chance to, give him a chance to finish reading.
Is the public no chance?
All right, Mr. Wessel.
Well, I would just like to say that we've seen several different versions of this resolution, all very, very similar. And when this was in the board packet a month ago, I think in respect to your concerns, we sent it to the attorney. This is almost identical to what we had, but now it's gone through the attorney and the clerk's office. But we've been dealing with this for five years. And three different administrators have recommended it. Two totally different boards have looked at it. It's time to move forward.
Yes.
Everybody?
Yeah, I mean, I just received it and yes, but it is different. It is different. The public has not seen it. I just got it here, 5 minutes before our meeting. That is not how we do resolutions on the day that we receive them. It's always, we have at least a week. We're supposed to have a week to look at them and study them. Also, this is not administrative driven. It's driven by one, I believe, one commissioner here. And that's the reason that we have it here, not because our corporate counsel suggested this. This is completely being driven by commissioners or a commissioner. And I think that we deserve the right to look at it for a week before we vote on it. And we should have that with any resolution in its final draft.
Mr. Wessel.
I just want to respond to Commissioner Bunny's concern about being driven by one commission. This was recommended by Chet Janik when he was administrator. He said, we need a resolution. And that's where it started. We've heard from staff, we've talked to the attorney, we've talked with the last board, we've talked with this board. When we talked about our goals for this year, approving this resolution was one of those goals that we listed. This isn't being driven by one commissioner. It's being driven by past board, this board, past administrators, current administrators, and best practice.
And might I add, her attorney suggestion and review.
Any other discussion? All right, not, I'll just offer my couple comments. With all due respect, Commissioner Bunting, this has been discussed. It was part of our goals. There was this, a couple commissioners brought it up at our goals. So this is not something that I believe that is driven by one commissioner either. This is something that a couple commissioners brought up, and wanted this to be taken care of. So the only reason this is at this meeting is because I requested last month that it be reviewed by legal counsel based on the concerns that the clerk had brought up, which has been done. And I had a chance to read through it real quick on the 10 minutes prior to the meeting. And there wasn't much change other than some language that recognizing pretty much that the fact that a lot of this has been transferred, but it needs to be ratified. So that's pretty much the only thing that I can see in here. And so I have no problem, approving this, as there's very little change with that. This has been discussed. This is nothing that's coming out of the dark sky and surprising us all. So, those are my comments. So with that, we'll go ahead with.
I'd just also like to add that I would indicate during our conversations, Clerk Michelle Crocker has been very accommodating. She has been very helpful in terms of understanding her concerns. And I will say, since I've been administrator for going 2 weeks shy of a year, she has done everything that I think is reasonable and appropriate to assist me in managing the human resources function. And all I think you're doing is documenting a lot of what's already happened. There are a few things that go beyond that and indicate what you expect me to do as administrator. That's the main reason I'm asking the resolution be adopted, because it does direct me with respect to the administration of that department. But I want to say publicly that Clerk Crocker has been very helpful in terms of assisting me in the management of the human resources department. In case of any question regarding that.
All right, go ahead with the roll call.
Commissioner Walter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Chairman Yoder,
Yes.
Commissioner Allgaier,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonnet,
No.
Commissioner Campbell,
No.
Commissioner Robbins.
Yes.
5-2.
Next up, we have item number 2D, which is the Finance Department resolution. Motion for that.
I move that Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve presented County Resolution 2026-666, resolution direct county administrator concerning financial process and organization and implementation of the finance director position.
Second.
Supported, discussion? Money?
Yeah, I would, this resolution, again, it takes non-mandatory items from the clerk, it gives them, and then it gives them to the treasurer, who's non-mandatory. So we're taking it from one and put it to the other. It also gives a tremendous amount of power to our administrator. I think it basically makes our finance director and the deputy finance director, and it appoints our administrator as our finance director. So I just can't agree with the way this has been written, that we're giving all power and much of the decisions that we make to our administrator. And so I am opposed to this resolution strongly.
Campbell?
I wrote my thoughts. I left some out there for the public. I have the same philosophical concern. The basic reason that the non-statutory authority was moved from the clerk's office, which I agree, and actually I think the clerk would probably agree too, because what are the odds if we go 50 years and they have 2 more clerks? Probably not very good. So I agree with that premise. But here we turn around and we create a county finance team with a treasurer. another elected position. So what happens when the next treasurer doesn't want to assume this responsibility? You know, if the philosophy worked the first time, did not work the first time, why does it work this time? It just seems like this is more a popularity contest than actually good governance. Let me read the one part that it says the finance team would be authorized to, quote, take all other steps and to implement internal departmental financial policies and develop standard operating procedures as may be suggested by the Budgeting Act, the best practices, things like that. Well, as written, the clause provides carte blanche authority to the team in financial policy and practice. Simply changing that phrase from as may be suggested by to as are defined in would put some bumper guards on this new finance team that we're creating. You can read what I wrote. I spent a lot of time on it. I think that we sought an independent finance department and director. And now we're going to create a team that includes an elected official to take us to the next place. And I assume that our minister and Minister Dyer is going to have a heavy influence on that too, which I don't have a problem with that. But including an elected official, to me, it just speaks of hypocrisy and does not add, if you will. The treasurer is 3 doors down. You can go down and talk to the treasurer anytime you want, and he'll give you his opinion. He's very good at giving his opinion. I've appreciated getting his opinion. You don't need to create a team to get that. So this to me does not make any sense.
Amen.
Any other comments, Mr. Wessel?
Well, and I understand some of the concerns. It does make sense to me to have the person responsible for revenue be a part of a team that considers our finances. In fact, as we went through the budget this summer, one of the things that I think was missing was we didn't have a good handle on our revenue. So we sat here right before we approved the budget, not making sure. I mean, we challenged the administrator, are we sure this is the revenue we're going to have? Having the treasurer be a part of that, still keeping the separation of duties, makes sense to me.
Any other discussion? Administrator?
Just a couple of things. First of all, to echo what Commissioner Wessel has said, the reason for the inclusion of the treasurer as part of the finance team is because he does have the statutory responsibility to manage investments and revenue. And not having that piece of the puzzle as part of your finance team doesn't make a lot of sense. Frankly, we've already been functioning like that for the last month or so. Unfortunately, the treasurer is not available. He's out of the country right now. We've been functioning like that team for the last month or so, and would very likely do so even if this resolution isn't approved. Other than really the first portion of the resolution that authorizes me as administrator to create an RFP for replacement of the existing Harris Open Windows financial software that frankly is way outdated and needed to be replaced years ago. Other than that, all of these things are things that are reasonable under the Uniform Budgeting and Accounting Act for me to implement, because you've already identified and named me as the county's chief administrative officer under the Uniform Budgeting Act. And all of these things are the responsibility, the management of the budget process and the control of expenditures, not the approval. But the control of expenditures, that remains your responsibility to control expenditures, to approve them, excuse me, but to control them is my responsibility as administrator. So these are all things that I'm actually required to do. What I'm really asking that you do is to say, this is the direction we want the finance department to move in. I want you to approve the direction that team will move forward on. Rather than simply, because I've been accused by many that sit in the audience right now that I'm leading you instead of the reverse. And that has not been true. I've been trying to take direction from you individually, collectively, but I'm asking you to act as one, as a body, be it unanimous or not, to give us direction on which way you want to proceed. And these are some of the things that I think are absolutely necessary to develop a 5-year budget format and process, to standardize a calendar of financial decisions and required actions, which we need to have that, to develop a new budget process that you all were critical of last time. Again, not to say, we're going to make you go through this process. Ultimately, you have to approve all of this stuff. All of these things are subject to your approval. But these are the things we're asking that you tell us you want us to do and confirm that, so I can avoid the charge that I'm the tail wagging the dog, and that's not the case. I want you to tell me publicly, this is how you want us to manage finances.
Making this proposal does not switch the tail wagging the dog, in my mind. But in particular, this resolution, the budget process is extremely important. And I think we should have the final say in the budget.
And you
process.
will.
Well, that isn't what the resolution says. That isn't what I'm just going by what was written. It doesn't. It puts formulation of the budget process in the hands of this county finance team, and we don't get to approve it.
Yes, we do. You absolutely do.
What, did you look at it?
Yes, I have.
Pull it up.
I wrote it. So
Nancy's got to put it together for you.
Okay,
We
just
can
to-
make a final say. Huh?
Just a quick.
Well, it doesn't
Well,
say
they have
that.
to put it
Hold on,
together by
hold on.
your
No, I'm not gonna argue
Let's
back
straighten
and
it
forth.
out. I mean,
Commissioner Campbell, can you pinpoint to me where in the resolution you find that
someone's got to give me a.
The board doesn't have.
it's on page 3 through 5 on the packet.
Can I speak while it's?
Might as well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just right there, that talk right there is telling us we have to do it. You know, that, to me, it feels like we're being told this is what we have to do. Our administrator, in order to run the county, has to have us do what he says. And that's what I don't like.
I don't hear that at all.
Good, but I do.
I'll read the paragraph that discusses that. It says,
Yes, please.
be it further resolved that the county's finance team is authorized to develop a budget process to permit more and earlier board participation in the development of the budget. Board participation in the development.
What's the first part of that says? They will develop process. Now, it describes what the process should be, what their goal should be, but it does it really allow us? It seems to me that sentence says we're advocating that responsibility.
I haven't finished the sentence.
I'm sorry, I interrupted. My apologies.
Earlier, again, permit more and earlier board participation in the development of the budget, greater community participation, improved documentation of decisions made, projects approved and expenditures authorized during that process. You are the ones that authorize expenditures during the budget process, and greater transparency in the projection of revenues and the management of expenditures. Again,
This is you taking control of that process by directing me to manage it in that fashion. Because I'm your employee. That's the whole point.
Do you mind saying that the board would have the final say? We would vote on that process before it's implemented? Because I don't read that there.
With all due respect, Commissioner Campbell,
Yes, sir.
the Uniform Budgeting Act says you have to approve the budget.
I'm not talking about the
Regardless of
budget,
what
I'm
this
talking about the
resolution says.
process. I'm talking
Yes.
about the budget process. I don't see anywhere in there where we have a vote in the budget process. The team decides the process. You set goals for the team, but we are not involved in approving the process.
Again, I don't know how I can say it any clearer. That you are to permit more and earlier board participation in the development of the budget. That's board participation, not.
So to Commissioner Campbell's point, would you be okay with adding something in there that the county's finance team is authorized along with the board to develop a budget process where in essence.
Or to recommend to the board.
There's something that's, I think that's all he's looking for.
And again, this is why it was presented to you last week, so some of these changes could be made, and I'm absolutely open to any changes that you would suggest, even a provision that says blanketly, all of these policies are still subject to approval by the board. All of these, you could even add a provision that says all of these policies and practices are still subject to approval by the board, because they clearly and always will be. For example, I cannot approve a policy on my own. But I would make a distinction between what I would characterize as standard operating procedures for the finance department, how we process payroll. I don't think you want to be involved in the process of approving literally step by step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how we process payroll. Those things are generally management driven. But in terms of adopting what we can approve, that's always board driven. That's always board driven, and I have no problem with saying that in this document. I thought I did, and if you think I haven't, any change that makes it absolutely clear that the board approves final policy absolutely would be appropriate.
I'll leave it to the rest of the, I mean, I've said my piece. It's philosophically mostly in that I don't think the treasurer, I agree, his input is greatly sought, but he's 3 doors down. He should be providing the reports, and if we're gonna have an independent finance team under the direction of the administrator, let them act independently and not under or with an elected official.
So from my understanding, your only objection to this is the fact that the finance team is made up of the administrator, finance director, and treasurer.
Yes. And I don't even think you need a finance team if you take the treasurer out of it, and that it's just our administrator and the finance director.
It makes sense to have the treasurer there. Makes
Okay,
total sense.
Because he has specific statutory responsibility in the same way that I have specific statutory responsibility for the expenditure side. He has specific responsibility for the revenue side.
So from my understanding from reading through this resolution that has been before us for over a week, the first 2, be it resolved. I mean, the first one is pretty much authorizing them to do an RFP for software.
Yeah.
The second, be it further resolved, is pretty much in essence designating the finance team, which I believe you have stated that you have no objection to. The rest of those are all just general concepts that the administrator would like to enact with finance to improve some of the
absolutely,
the runnings and stuff that I think is important, that, and he's just wanting board support, and like, are you, like, I need some of this to move this finance board forward, are you guys support of that? And that's where I'm appreciative of him to bring it in front of the board here for our support and to be transparent in that process. So that's what I appreciate, but the first 2 be it resolved are the main ones that I feel like have any teeth to it in essence. The rest of them just are the line of communication type of thing.
Yeah, and again, that's why I indicated that the county board designates the county treasurer, who has statutory responsibility for revenue collection and investment of county funds, among other fiscal responsibilities. The county administrator, who has statutory responsibilities for county budgetary preparation, management, and expenditure control. That's language taken right from the uniform budgeting and accounting Act.
Yeah, I agree. You need that. We need that information.
Yeah, and the county finance director as the county's internal finance team.
Commissioner Walter,
I move we call the question.
Support.
all the questions say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Carried 5-2. All right, go ahead with the roll call.
Yeah, you have to just give me a second. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Still typing. Yeah,
Good thing that's recorded, right?
yeah, that's right. All right, so that was 5-2. Question. Roll call on resolution. And since we did switch out, who was the motion for the resolution? Walter?
Commissioner Walter.
Walter Roberts. I'm sorry, what's that one?
I supported.
Oh, you supported? Okay. We'll get that note. Did you support too?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a hash mark now. Okay. Commissioner Walter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Chairman Yoder,
Yes.
Commissioner Algar. Commissioner Bunting,
No.
Commissioner Campbell,
Second, no.
and Commissioner Roberts.
Yes.
5-2.
All right, thank you. Next up, we're up to item number 3A, which is Board of Commissioners, letter to federal representatives in support of grant for sidewalk in Shawby Town. I believe that was brought to us by Commissioner Wessel, so I'll let him address that.
Yes, in your board packet is a description of the proposed project that the tribe is working on to build sidewalks along M22, starting at the casino there and going all the way down to Putnam Road, and then left on Putnam Road past the tribal property there. There are lots of residents that live there. That road has 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. Despite the fact that there's an alternative school there and a courthouse there and a couple of businesses there and a lot of homes. Very narrow opportunity for people to walk down M22. Several years ago, the tribe reached out to the county and asked for support for reducing the speed limit. They've worked with the Department of Transportation, they've worked with the road commission, but they keep running into hurdles about it's a state trunk line. And they can't change the speed limit on a state trunk line. I find that a little bit strange because M22 going into Leland is also a state trunk line. And that's a 35-mile speed limit. And so I think the tribe has a right to be concerned that their problem hadn't been addressed, but because it hasn't been addressed, they've developed a proposal. And I sent an individual letter of support to Representative Bergman to support this proposal because they needed that in a timely fashion. And we didn't have time for a board meeting. So I sent it as one commissioner, as their commissioner from District 4. They are also sending that same proposal for congressional discretionary spending to Senator Peters and Senator Slotkin. And that is going to be sent in later this month. And so I reached out to Mr. Kratowski and I said, would it be helpful if we had a letter from the whole board? And he said, yes, it would. And he drafted a letter. I asked him to draft a letter with some of the details. I reviewed the letter. There may be some edits to the letter that we want to do, but the letter is in your packet. But I would like this board to support the tribal grant request for sidewalks to go down M22 and then down Putnam Road. And I think it would be a nice addition to Fashabi Town. And even though Fashabi Town's not a village, an incorporated village, it is a village in terms of people living there and the community working there. So I would move that we approve the letter of support in your board packet that is addressed to Senator Slotkin and Senator Peters.
Support.
Supported, discussion?
Yeah, it actually has more to it than just the sidewalk, and that there's also boardwalks down to the beach area. So it's not just the sidewalk, but, and I understand and appreciate Commissioner Wessel's desire to help his constituents. You know, and I'm very willing to vote for a resolution to request lowering the speed limit through Fashabi Town. Yeah, but with regard to a resolution to have taxpayers pay for the sidewalks in Fashabi Town, as you know, the Grand Traverse Band prides itself in being a sovereign nation and has its own governing body, which oversees 2 casinos. The Grand Traverse Band has purchased resorts and businesses. Generally, municipalities such as this or governing entities pay for infrastructure and improvements, which includes sidewalks. So it's my understanding that the band can take on the responsibility of this sidewalk project themselves. And by undertaking this project, the band is honoring and providing for their own people. So I will vote no on having taxpayers buy them a sidewalk.
Any discussion? All right,
If that's the vote, then we would have this letter and we would just take the word unanimous out of that. It still would be a vote of this board, but it wouldn't be unanimous.
all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Carried 5-2. All right, with that, we got item number 3B, which is a resolution urging the Michigan Department or MDOT, Michigan Legislature and Attorney General to lower the speed limits. I think that was brought to us by Commissioner Campbell, so I'll let him address that.
Well, let me get to the proposed motion here. What's the number of it?
3B,
Gotcha.
it's in italics there.
Yeah, I moved that the Leelanau County Board, no, I wouldn't do it.
It's on page 10.
Well, there's no motion there, you're looking for the
Oh,
motion,
right.
so that's
Yeah.
3B.
I move that Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve as presented Leelanau County Resolution 2026 with the number to be identified later. A resolution urging the Michigan Department of Transportation, Michigan Legislature, and Michigan Attorney General to work toward the lowering of speed limits in the community of Fashabi Town.
Supported, discussion,
Who seconded that?
Commissioner Wessel.
It was just a strange combining of events that I'm sitting at the Centerville Township meeting and I'm starting to write this and Bill Rastetter's behind me. And before that, I had sent a text to Brian Napon, who sent it to John Tatosky, who sent something back. And then, so I wrote it and I sent it to Brian, who finished it off. So I take no literary credit for this, as in it's had a lot of input, but 3 tribal members have had, tribal leaders have had input into it. So I hope the board can find its way to support it.
Commissioner Robbins.
I support it. I don't know if we should be adding, I mean, you got the Attorney General, I mean, Michigan State Police works underneath them, but they're the ones that determine the speed. It's not any of the transportation. It's gonna be Michigan State Police. They're the ones that's gotta do it, so I don't know if they should be included.
I really think it's gonna be more of a, right, well, I think it's gonna be from the other sources. I think the Attorney General is pretty close to releasing an opinion. Whether they can get it through the legislature, I don't know, but if they can get the attorney general to release an opinion, that'll go a long way towards moving things. And I don't, so, yeah, you got 3 balls up in the air, which one's gonna land first?
I just like to throw all of them in there because, you know, I'd love to, I'm gonna vote for it.
Thank you.
Was my, Commissioner Rollins brought up the same point too, but the only caveat is I know on local roads, the Michigan State Police, they are the overseer of speed limits on that. I didn't know about state roads, so that was my only comment on that, and that's why, I'll definitely support it. I just wasn't sure, was that supposed to be in there as well? I just know a lot of local roads, county roads, like the state police has to have a say in that. Like for instance, if a township approves a resolution, it has to go to the state police for them to authorize it, type of thing. So but I don't know about state roads. That
It's
could
the
be
same for
different.
the
So
state.
is it, so I don't know.
And this is just a weird, because it goes to a sovereign nation.
I understand.
I guess you end up getting all the ammo you can before you go try to convince folks to change that. So that's where they wanted it to go. Who am I to question?
No, and I totally understand and support that. So that was my only comment. So all right, no, that's a roll call. So the roll call.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Walter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Chairman Yoder,
Yes.
Commissioner Allgaier,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonnet,
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have item 3C, which is the drain commissioner vacancy / accept resignation. See, that was originally brought to us by Commissioner Campbell. Then we have a later addition that the clerk requested as well, so I don't know.
I just brought it to us. I wanted to convey to the committee that will be interviewing and in charge of selecting the next drain commissioner, that we recognize that there may need to be changes in the scope of that position for it to succeed. I personally sent a reply to Michelle. She sent email to all of us asking for input, but just to, didn't you? You gonna get it back?
I don't think I asked for your input.
No. This is a common problem.
Nobody else did.
It carries right onto my household, actually.
Feel free to send it to me and I'll send it to you.
Okay, anyways, I feel like we need to be flexible and rather than force whoever comes in, or even the commission will choose the next drain commissioner. I think we need to give them enough flexibility to have meaningful conversations with anyone who might want that god awful job, that position. So what does everyone else think?
Commissioner Bonnie, get to stand up.
Yeah, I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners accept the resignation of Leelanau County Drain Commissioner Timothy O'Donnell, effective March 27, 2026.
Second.
Supported, discussion.
Sad, just sad, it's too bad.
Comment that's unfortunate. I think he was
He's really
well
getting
qualified to
into
do
it,
the
yeah.
job, but I understand family circumstances as well. So. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried 7-0.
He did give us an extra week.
You did, very, very much appreciated. Do you have any follow-up, or? did you feel like you
I
had some
don't need
questions
any. I
answered?
appreciate hearing from others that they would be willing to offer some flexibility, because this is, in the job interview, you need a little back and forth. So
I did not hear that we had the option to modify the way we did it, or, I think that's what you're talking about. And I didn't hear that we had that opportunity.
That's not right now. I didn't read the opinion, but what I had read to you last week, we will move forward as is. We'll have our first meeting tomorrow, but it should be brief.
You can't really change the office at this time. you could change it later into the future. But yeah,
Even when there's a resignation. See, I assumed a resignation would open that up.
Not in the middle of the term.
not really, not during the middle of the term. That's kind of the problem. I mean, it's possible you could increase the salary, for example, if you chose to do that. You couldn't reduce the salary. You couldn't change the terms of the couldn't, for example, there are provisions that would allow the elimination of the office, for example. You couldn't do that at this time. Those are options in the future.
We could add staff.
Could add staff.
So potentially a discussion going forward, I guess, if needs to be, I guess, so. All right, with that, we'll move on to, then we got the new action item number 4, which Commissioner Robbins requested to move down.
We received this last week. I'm not saying I'm for or against it, but, you know, it was last minute, we didn't get a lot of information, and we had a lot going on, tonight too, but, there's some questions I have, you know, on the overlapping. The person that, we're hiring, I guess, you know, if I'm correct, you wanted to move it from 32 to 40 hours with benefits. I'm a little concerned if that's a part-time employee, are we opening up Pandora's box because we got rain depths that are full-time during the summer, we're gonna have to pay them benefits. You know, is this something we should have talked about at budget? I don't know. I just feel that we need more information. Like I said, I'm not against it, but I feel like let's move this to the executive. We got plenty of time here. Yearly voting, I mean, some of the information I received was, or what I heard was, you know, we pay $20, we receive $15. What is this actually costing us? Everything, you know, it was, I mean, we expect this from our prosecutor and our sheriff when they come here to come with the details. I feel this is probably okay, but we need some more detailed information before we vote on this.
Clerk, want to answer that
I
question?
don't know if it's appropriate, but I answered every single one of those questions last week, but I'd be happy to answer them again today on the early voting, if you want me to.
It's up to.
I mean, I don't mind if you want to answer some of this, but I think what Commissioner Robbins is bringing out, usually with any other office, there was documentation with a lot of that, and there just wasn't with that. So am I interpreting you correctly, Commissioner Robbins?
Right, why are we justifying, or why are we changing a 32 to 40 hour plus with benefits for this position? Go ahead.
So really, I mean, we moved all 3 of those items down, but the release of the attorney-client privilege letter, we could take care of tonight.
We can take care of that.
And the early voting, we could take care of tonight. But the documentation on the office staffing overlap, we'd want to move that to the executive committee.
Correct.
So we need to do yeah, let's do a motion that way. Let's move A to the next month's meeting. If we have time to do that.
We can do this one motion at a time.
Right.
Okay, so whereas Commissioner Campbell's recommending that we break it up, so.
They are
What-
already.
They're already broken up, so you would just have to, you have a motion or no?
I move, we move the clerk's office staffing overlap till next month's executive committee meeting.
Support.
Moved and supported. Discussion, call the clerk.
No, I want it to be clear. I have the 4-day-a-week position in there anyway. That does come with benefits. I can proceed with that. I was looking for the 5-day to make it more universal. I can fill that 4-day right now, but it is going to be doing more than just election work. I just want to be clear. I've got an upcoming vacancy and I have an FMLA leave, just like I told you last week. I can't disclose and I won't disclose who it is because I don't have it in writing and you just don't discuss FMLA leaves in the office. And I wanted to get them trained and I wanted to get it up to speed. Just so you're aware, I can fill this 4 days per week person, the same parameters. Both of them end at the end of the year unless it works out and they're kept to fill the vacancy.
With benefits.
Both of them have benefits.
Okay, they always have.
They always have. And you can't compare it to Marine because the Marines do get some benefits when they're here. I mean, this is no different than the others, but if you want to move it, I can still move it. It's going to slow me down one more month, but that's your choice.
But
So,
was it approved in the 25 or 26 budget?
yep,
Yes.
yep, yeah, it's budget neutral because the person that's going to be off is going to be off for the full 12 weeks and they won't have more than 4 weeks, maybe 5. She's telling me less of accumulated vacation and personal time. So then all that rest goes unpaid from the hourly rate because there's a difference in the pay rates. Well, no, it hasn't been. I have also saved money because I haven't filled the 4-day-a-week position because I've been fielding some applicants, but I
Is this
just.
the same position that you filled about 4 years ago?
We talked about filling it and we picked it up
I mean, we approved
internally.
it, I should
Yes,
say.
but then it went away.
But for 4 years, it's never.
Yep. It was only, it was 2 years ago and it was only for the length of the year. It was not meant to be a full-time position. No, it was meant to just be a year. And this one was hopefully going to fill in for a departure. And if it doesn't work out, then they're out the door, just like before. But I just want to give that explanation. I thought I made that clear last week, but maybe not. Maybe
No, it
not
sounded
enough
like you made
detail.
it. I thought I took, it was 32 and you wanted
And then maybe we don't want to move any.
What's that?
You gotta say it louder.
I said that maybe we don't want to move anything, we just want to vote on this.
Which is-
I mean, so my question, yeah, so. If your question's answered. Then we don't really need to move this to next month's meeting.
Well, I need help with just one thing. So why move it from 32 to 40?
I felt with the way it's approved at 32, it was solely, when I came to you, was election focused.
Right.
And I want to make it encompassing of the whole office, of all the work we do, because if this person works out and there's a vacancy, they can fill it. But I can't just focus on elections because that person's going to come in and be gone. And this helps me do that, to allow for that, and it gives me the overlap. That is the only reason. There's nothing more. And if it doesn't work out at the end of the year, they're done. So you are correct that it is 8 more hours a week is what it gives me.
But was it budgeted for that 8 hours?
It was budgeted for the 32, but it's going to be budget neutral, just like the request you had from the sheriff and the prosecutor. Because I haven't filled it anything at this point. And I've also got the extra hours when the FMLA kicks in.
I would go forward for keep it 32. I can't justify the other 8 hours right now. But if you keep it 32,
I don't need your permission for 32.
But there's no benefits.
There is.
There is, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything over 20?
I don't,
I
21.
think it's 20 or 21. Anything over 20 or 21 has benefits.
Yes, we have a motion.
The motion on the floor is to move it to next month's executive committee meeting. Is there any more discussion on that?
And motion and seconded.
Yep.
Hey, can I just ask, how's that gonna affect your office? I think I gather why you want it 40 and that you believe there's gonna be an opening, so you wanna make sure you hire someone
I do, and I want it to be universal, and I don't want,
dedicated to that position, so you aren't gonna have someone at 4 days and then they say, I'm not working 5 days, I'm sorry, I can't do that.
correct. And I also don't want to have the people walking by. Michelle was only supposed to get that 32 hours and look at, they're waiting and doing a marriage license. Oh, look at, they're doing an assumed name. Oh, they're doing a DBA, and that will happen because I seem to be the #1 target. So I'm just trying to be honest and above board here. And that's what it's about, because I'm tied in with that 32. It was approved for elections. I need it to be universal.
Any other discussion?
Just a question, if we don't act on it today, you can still fill the 32. And we have time to use our regular order of business and increase it to 40 at the April meeting.
Yes, and I would like the understanding that if I can fill someone for that, it's not going to just be election. It's going to be the work of the county clerk's office. Because I do not wish to hear about this. I mean, I don't mean to sound that way, but I just don't wish to hear about this. Look what she thinks she's getting away with.
There's no restriction with the position in our budget, is there?
I put it to, it was budgeted out of elections. Yeah.
So if they're doing ancillary work,
That's not what we're voting on right now. So are we gonna move it or we're not? Let's vote on that and get that over with.
all right.
All right. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1.
Okay, so now we don't have to discuss it. Also,
All right.
the attorneys.
So
I just
yeah,
want
if
to, I think what they're looking for is numbers, and I can understand that.
That's my main recommendation. If next month, have it like the numbers broken down, because I think that's the one I'm gathering, that's what was brought by the other offices, was broken down. as
It's
to-
budget neutral and you did not request those numbers from either the
Understand,
prosecutor.
but even
Okay.
the prosecutor's office is budget neutral.
So
but
is
they
mine.
use numbers.
So this is
Right,
true.
right.
You-
But
This
that's,
is true.
I'm just saying what I'm hearing right here, so.
I understand, believe me, I understand clearly.
Right. Right, move from one, money from one fund to
Require
another.
moving money from one fund to another.
No. Gonna have to have an amended staffing level and
That's
we
right.
can talk about it later.
Oh,
We can talk about it tomorrow.
Mr. White,
Yeah, I would move that we release the attorney-client privilege letter that she requested.
support discussion? Not all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried 7-0.
I move that the county board of commissioners support the agreement of election services between Leelanau County, Bingham Centerville, Leland Charter Township Development, Empire, Glen Arbor, Cass, and Leelanau, Solon, and Sutton Bay Township, the county clerk is authorized to sign.
Support discussion?
I'd like to address Commissioner Robbins' question. So you are correct. The state of Michigan did establish a $15 an hour fee. The consensus of all the township clerks, and based on what they pay during the regular election season, is $20 for a worker and $25 for the chairperson. And the difference in that, we run it out of the county. It runs through our payroll as fiduciary for that. And we wait till the state reimburses us on the 15. And then from the 15 to 20 and the 15 to 25, that is then billed back and divided between all 11 townships to pay. So that's how it's reimbursed. It's
We got 13 townships.
11 townships and the city holds their own. So all costs except for my time are billed back to the townships. And it's the same with that new fee I told you about. All the townships wanted that and that will be billed. That's one of the things, time and the money that goes with that is split evenly. It's not voter based. It's not a percentage of that. So it's an even split. If it's $110, it's going to be $11 per township. So it's all billed back to them. You won't bear the cost, other than we do lose some of our time and material, but that's
So when
just,
you train the clerks, special, do we get reimbursed for that?
when I train them,
So don't you have a training?
I have probably 15 to 20 trainings.
Do we get reimbursed for that?
For my time? No,
Yeah.
not, my time isn't billable as an elected official. And it's,
What about your health? It goes with you.
not for training, because by law, I'm required, we have under 20,000, or no, we have. None of our precincts have more than 10,000, so by law, the county clerk has to do the training. And I can't do it by myself, I have to take staff to assist me, and that's not billable back to them. But other costs associated with the election that we can bill back are billed back. But not everything, not our time.
So how much does all the training cost?
You know, I just don't know because we try to do as much as we can during the day, during the day.
Between 8
It's
and
just
5.
not a bill, it's just not a billable cost. I mean, I've got townships, if they've got new workers, with one township, I spent 10 straight days with them training them 4 to 5 hours per day.
I know you're busy, but next month, can you bring that to the meeting?
Bring what?
What it cost us for training? I mean, you go back to the last election.
I mean, I can just tell you how much it costs per person. I mean, it's just already built into my
For our
budget.
staff to go,
They come here.
yeah.
They come here and then the townships pay the workers to be here. We do not
Right,
pay
I'm not
them.
talking about work, I'm talking about our.
Oh,
staff.
yeah, I can just bring you the budget for election.
Well, I want to know what's actually cost us, not what's budget.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's mandated, so it has to be.
I would just like to interject that I did that training years ago. It's great.
Yep.
It's excellent.
Yeah, it goes very well, very well. We train over 200 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, discussion? Not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Thank you. All right, next up, we got review of financials. Those were filled out. Anybody have questions for that? If not, we'll move on to special reports by staff, commissioners, and other agencies. Not?
I would say that I had a meeting Monday that was canceled. It's gonna be next Monday, that Northern Michigan counties. I did provide everyone with a report on the Parks Commission yesterday, which Lois Bailey proofread for me, and I won't comment on some of the typos that were.
Yeah, I just want to say that, yesterday we had the airport, meeting, we actually, approved all of the basically bids to get started on the construction of the new addition. The contractor, I think it was 74 million. The cement work that they have to do was 16 million. And then there were several other items that added to it. So it's close to about $100 million that in contracts that were set out yesterday.
And you're chairing the finance committee, right?
Correct. Yes.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I had to meet with the bonding people and the banks, and there's the lawyers who are going to oversee if they do it the right way. But it is funny how they finance it, because everything is a particular way that they have to finance it through different grants and different funding. So it's pretty interesting.
Are they gonna be breaking ground this year?
Yes.
A lot of that?
Yeah, they really have already started.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Airport's gonna change.
And one of the things that I actually didn't like is they're gonna have these doorways when you leave, get off the airplane and leave that area, but you have to go through this door, all glass doors, so that they don't have the TSA person there anymore.
Oh, okay.
Because the TSA does not want to do that. They want to check you coming in, not going out.
It takes us a whole year to spend 18 million, and Will and I did it in hours, 100 million.
All right, thanks for those updates. I appreciate it when commissioners bring those updates and various committees that you sit on, so I appreciate that. Next up, we have public comment. Anybody got 5 minutes to address the board? Any public comment? Yes.
My name's Peggy Zvonek. I'm from Centerville Township. Good evening, commissioners. The Finance Department exists to protect taxpayer funds through strong internal controls. The public record now includes statements referencing compromised dual controls, lack of supervision, and operation strain. These are not minor issues. These are classic audit red flags. We also understand that during a critical period, year-end payroll and close, a single remaining employee was responsible for key financial functions. without full support or oversight. At the same time, experienced internal resources were not utilized. That combination, reduced staffing, limited institutional knowledge, and restricted support creates real risk. The adding more personnel, even capable personnel, does not immediately replace institutional knowledge. In fact, it can increase risk in the short term because financial systems are not plug and play. They require experience, continuity, and oversight. If errors occur, corrections are costly, external consultants may be required, and taxpayers' exposure increases. This is theoretical. This is how breakdowns happen. The question is not whether modernization is needed, it is whether the system is currently stable enough to support it. Right now, that is unclear. And that is exactly why these concerns must be reviewed carefully and independently. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment, Mr. Kowski?
I want to thank Commissioner Campbell. This is refreshing to get things in writing that help clarify things for the public, whether they agree or not. Never been done before. And we appreciate that ability to put it out here. We're kind of confused here tonight. We have heard that the county has had an ugly process. And we seem to have a serious dementia problem in the county, with the county commission. The ugly process problem was created by 4 commissioners on May 11, 2021, and it has never subsided. It was a peculiar attempt to purge the clerk and make an enemy of everybody else. It was a unilateral decision by those 4 people to put it on the agenda, and that was allowed to be put on the agenda when it was not even an emergency. To me, that seems somewhat fraudulent. It had no plan. Still doesn't have a plan. We're still groveling around trying to figure out a plan. After the whole finance department has been destroyed. Now we're trying to put together a plan, and we're telling everybody, everything's stable now. It's going to be stable. Perfect. It's perfect now. Everything's going to be perfect. The audit will be perfect, and no specialties will be required. And the plan and the whole process that was established on May 11th had no input. Deliberately, the clerk was disallowed any input. Disallowed deliberately. Can you imagine anything worse that could happen to a county? Can you imagine anything worse? It's hard to believe. And you all commissioners, 4 of you are still here, and you're allowing it to go on for 5 years. What a tremendous achievement you must feel. You're going to go out with halos. Everybody will go out of this election cycle as halos. And that whole thing had no plan, and there was no report for need, necessity, justification, or benefit. The idea was good. Excellent idea. Made sense. But that's where it ended. Nothing else happened. So the interesting thing is here that with all the admission of ugliness, we did not say that this county commission needs to put together that apology resolution. The apology for the clerk loathing action of May 11, 2021. You need to put that together and do it fast. Because you're going to be all plagued for the next 3 years of this thing. It ain't going to go away. I said that last week. It ain't going to go away. And today you had a recitation of more problems, more things, and they were all voted in by the public. Now, I'm only speaking about your decisions and actions on the clerk loathing motion, that motion. However, it has contaminated everything else you're doing for us. And you're not doing those other things very well, I don't believe, because you're attacking yourself with all kinds of gibberish and foolishness from that clerk loathing motion that has made no sense for 5 years. 5 whole years, it's one hell of a long time. In the private sector, we'd all have been fired on our first day. And yet we electors can't do much about it. We can't fire you. And we thought with this group that was elected, we could have some action and have some resolution. Not much has happened. And one of the peculiar things is that under the prior administrator, Lewis, we seem to be having fairly good results. Everything was going on pretty well. Or was I mistaken? Or was the public mistaken? Or was he just hiding something that he wasn't doing? Everybody else was doing their job right. We're perplexed by all that. So I left you on your desk the civility book. Civility, respect, and charity for human beings on this issue of the clerk loathing issue has been absent. It has been absent. And we're still allowing it to be absent.
You're well over 5 minutes, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Wait.
Good evening again, Commissioners. Jim White, Suttons Bay. At this point, the issue is no longer about one person, it's about a pattern supported by public record. A professional employee submits a formal letter documenting loss of financial controls, compromised safeguards, and workplace concerns. An assistant finance director leaves, citing professionalism, transparency, and accountability concerns. Qualified candidate evaluates the situation, declines to join. And in her letter saying that she doesn't want the job, she says that she can't subject herself to a hostile work environment, basically. 3 different roles, 3 different decisions, 1 consistent message. The response we've heard is to label this as disgruntled employees. But in my opinion, that avoids the real issue. This is not about whether someone is liked or disliked by anyone. It's not about personality. It's about internal controls, financial risk, and organizational integrity. And importantly, these individuals who wrote these letters and made these comments had nothing to gain by speaking out. They had already moved on. Better situations even. They stepped away and chose not to enter, and in doing so, they took on professional risk by not avoiding that conversation. That is not disgruntlement, that is civic responsibility. So the question before this board is not, what do we call them? The question is, are the concerns they raise being taken seriously and reviewed properly? Because if they are not, the risk does not go away, it grows. And ultimately, it is taxpayers who bear that risk. We're not asking for conclusions, we're asking for a process that is independent, thorough, and credible, and for the stability in the finance department while the process occurred, that it be guarded. And for the record, there are a few questions that many residents would respectfully ask this board concerning the finance department as well as other issues. Will the full scope of the current investigation be publicly defined and discussed by this board? When a female finance director was being investigated for job performance issues, she was suspended immediately with pay until the investigation was completed. Why is that process not being followed in a situation with the county administrator? Is this another example of disparate treatment of female employees? Has the administrator given you the metrics he will be tracking to determine whether the ever elusive stability that this board continues to pursue and the finance department has achieved? Has the county's independent auditor been informed of the internal control concerns described in the exit letter by Ms. Gray? Will the board ensure that this process is conducted in a way that employees can speak freely without concern for influence or retaliation? Now that you've given your official blessing to increasing the authority of the administrator, please answer this question. If having all that power under the clerk was unacceptable, Why is it having all of that power on the administrator just fine with you? Given that Commissioner Algar gave a ringing endorsement of taxpayer subsidized housing in this county in the last meeting and pledged to do, quote, anything she can to support it. And I had previously revealed that she and Jim Dyer were instrumental in improving the sale of public land and the provision of significant tax subsidies to that deal. I request that this board make clear its policy on supporting taxpayer subsidized housing in this county, including the dollar amounts of taxpayer subsidies the board is willing to approve. Is there any limit on the dollars this board is willing to commit to that government-driven initiative? Does this county have insurance that protects taxpayers from financial liability from adverse legal decisions? If so, what are the coverage limits? Answering these questions openly, honestly, and completely as possible is how public trust has maintained, and that is what this moment requires, in my opinion. By the way, I'm quite satisfied that you allowed a good number of my party members to comment tonight without being shut down. That's an improvement. I hope it means you're renewing your commitment to public comment in the future as well. I look forward to your response to the questions that I've just registered. Thank you.
Any other public comment? No. We got two of them here. Mr. Tosich.
Steve Tosted, Solon Township. So I've been attending meetings for about 2 years now. Had some free time once I retired. I'm concerned about my community. Excuse me, I want to get involved. So I learned about this 2021 decision about taking the power away from the clerk. Probably more of an issue of personalities or a political decision versus something that wasn't running successfully already. So he made the decision 5 years ago. Several of you were on the board at the time. 5 years later, you still haven't got it implemented. You spent over $1 million doing this, only to still be floundering with it right now. And I'm sorry. I mean, I know, Mr. Walty, you're professional and all of that. We should, all act professional. But in a private setting, the things that are going on now would never happen. You'd all be fired.
Amen.
The chaos that's been brought forth since Mr. Dyer has been in his position with personnel and issues like that, he'd never survive in a public setting. So I know some things have been made today to get rid of this and let the process evolve. But what we're doing is we're taking the power that was with the clerk and we're giving it to the administrator. What's the big change? Is it going to run better? Certainly hasn't within the last 5 years. So I just want to express my concern about that. It seems like we never talk about money, about reducing the cost to the taxpayer here. Never. It's, you put on staff people in finance, you spend more money. I'm sure that this finance department with the new staff is going to cost us more than it was before, but that's not a concern. We just fire people, we hire new people. They may be temporary, they may not be. It's not right. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Wiesner.
You have to take off some time, that's fine. Reason I take it up, because I start my time right there. You can pass these out, please. There's absolutely no way we will have fair elections, whether or not we train 240 or 2,400 election workers here. one person, one ballot, one vote, one day. Only way we'll have no fraud. And that handout has proof that there's fraud, admitted proof. And I imagine the clerks, 15 clerks, would be happy to go to paper ballots because I'm thinking a lot of them suspect there's fraud too. And this handout will show why. And last speaker said, you're not concerned for the taxpayer? Why are we doing the machines anyway? First of all, they're fraudulent. And secondly, it's much cheaper just having hand counted. This shows the cost hand counting would be $2.71 per ballot. The cost for machines, according to this figure, is $3.84 plus all the hidden costs. It's not apples to apples. The only thing they can figure is $3.84 for that much. And they don't give out the information on the hidden costs. This is a talk that was on St. Patrick's Day. It was on Lindell TV, Emerald Robertson. She interviewed Patrick Byrne, and Eric Coomer admitted the fraud, admitted there's backdoors. Plus, the people that serve the elections here, Michelle told me, we don't deal with Dominion, we deal with our own service people. Well, those people were in a speaking engagement with Mark Cook, a computer expert, and they admitted there was a backdoor into the computers. That was admitted, the people that Michelle trusted. So I urge you, I underlined a bit on here. I'm just saying, well, you know, when I highlight it, by the way, some of my stuff is not getting up online. I appreciate it when you do. If I could do web pages better, it'd be up on my website, but I can't right now. So the highlighting comes out like terrible when you just copy them instead of using the digital version. So I underlined these, and I underline like on 3 pages. There's just so much underlining. I urge you to read all this. And if you disagree, disagreement is not an option. If you leaders disagree, stand up and answer Eric Coomer when he admits that those machines are open up and open to people in Serbia. And the elections are not supposed to be handled by anybody but Americans. If you're a Serbian, you don't qualify. And there's another guy in here from Venezuela that did a whole lot, Ron Morales on page 5. He's from Venezuela. He started this all in Chicago when Obama stole the election from Hillary. And that was because the machines, they brought up 18 Venezuelans to help with the setting up it's in I don't know that it's mentioned in this one, it's mentioned in the last one. It really is. And so go through this. It wouldn't matter, 2,400 trained people, these machines cannot be trusted. And all you have to do, if this doesn't get up, I hope it gets online. There's nothing more important for this county than to come to the conclusion that these machines cannot be trusted. If it goes online, you'll be able to click on that link right there. If not, all you have to do is Google the title, Remote Election Access Confirmed, and it comes right up. It's on X, it's on Lindell, and it's on Joe Altman, Untamed version. He's got another total interview too with new stuff about this. This just all came out. It's changed everything. I urge you, read this. I'm going to get it out on Signal probably tonight. I'm going to send it out to my list of email people. I hope it goes all over. I hope every county in Michigan and across the United States finds this stuff out. There's 3 more pages about Venezuela, but I had to quit, and that may come in the future. Thank you for your consideration.
Any other public comments? All right, now we'll move on to commissioner comments. Russell?
I have a comment, and I wrote it down because I've been thinking about it. I thought about it while I was on vacation and I watched last week's meeting and anticipating the resolutions and the actions we were going to do tonight. I believe tonight's decisions on the resolutions were a positive step. I'd also like to acknowledge my respect and support for the leadership of our administrator. In 2021, I opposed the decision to remove finance and HR responsibilities from the clerk's office. My concern at that time was primarily about process. I believe the proposal moved forward too quickly and that the clerk was caught off guard. Major organizational changes should always involve clear communication and engagement with everybody impacted. When I was chair in 2022, I met confidentially with a number of staff persons, about 50 of them, who asked to speak with me. Listening to their experiences and concerns led me to reconsider my position. Those conversations convinced me the direction originally supported by Commissioners Bunnick, Rushton, Lautner, and Rappins was the right one, even if the process could have been handled better. In June of 2022, I changed my vote and supported moving finance and HR outside the clerk's office. Tonight's action gives us the opportunity to move forward constructively. I acknowledge and appreciate the dedication and the service of our clerk. As one board member, I do apologize to her for the manner that the board initiated the reorganization in 2021. It was not respectful and should have been handled differently. I thank her for her many years of effective and successful work. That said, I believe that the resolutions passed tonight gives us new opportunities, more accountability, and a much more appropriate organizational structure. Thank you.
Commissioner Robbins?
I'd like to add on that, tonight is not an end, it's a beginning for all of us in here. We gotta start working together. Can't be coming in here, I mean, you have a right to your public comments, but we can't be beating each other up. That's what we're doing. I mean, some of it you beat us up because you don't understand everything that's going on. I wish you would know or call and maybe we could explain. But it's not easy doing it at a meeting here. We forget about what's going on in that room down here, our finance department. They're drowning right now. We got Sean Collin, who's probably the best. Down there trying to put this together for us. We got a new girl down there. She's trying to do the best. And we can't be beating them up. They need to be positive. Let them get through this. It's not going to be easy. I mean, what you don't realize what's going on down in that department, because I've had people explain to me that's been working down there. Nothing against the previous finance department. We're dealing with a system that is so historically back in the dinosaurs that these new people come in that have been trained with software programs. They're lost. They don't even know where to begin. That's how messed up it is. It worked. It worked for 3 people running it, but the new people that are coming in to transition, they're totally lost. They're trying to sort through this. It's kind of like going to a Bell telephone box along the road there. Hit it with a car. You got 5 million wires in there. Where do you begin? That's what they're dealing with. We're going to get through this, but we all got to be positive. Like I said, it didn't end tonight. It's a beginning for us all to work together. We got an administrator that we hired. He's doing what we're asking him to do to put this together. He's not working against us. He's working for all of us. I may not look at it that way from where you're sitting, but he is. I mean, I've talked to employees here, quite a few in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, he is a little harsh, but all of them have said one thing. He has the best interest for every employee here. He's trying to do what's best for everybody. So I just ask for everybody to just be patient. It's been a long 5 years. Yes, I can go back to 21. I was a young commissioner then. And yeah, we could have changed things. And I asked if, to have more input from everybody, but people refused. I mean, the process back then, we did have a plan, but the plan was not the plan that I wanted. The plan was set up by other commissioners at the time. Each step is going to fail. They were looking for the 4th vote. This passed on 4 votes, and that's what they were looking for. It went right up till October 12th, 2021. They didn't know until the last minute. They filled the room in here. Mr. Bunnick was the 4th vote. and we got it, and then move forward from there. You know, Chef Janet did pick a person, he picked Jennifer, she's a great person. She was there for 4 months, she didn't want to do it, so it puts back behind again. So it's been one step after another. I mean, probably the words that echo every time I come in this room is on October 24th, 2022, when we had a finance director, Jared Prince. He was trying to do the best he could. He was capable of doing it. He sat right in that chair. We were set up to fail. It wasn't that we set them up to fail, it's the program that we have back there. That's why we need these new softwares. We need to get into the future where we can, you know, we got people coming over from the jail, volunteering before their hours to help us get through this. But no one wants to give them any recognition. You know, we're beating them up and they're trying to make our county move forward. I said enough.
Any other commissioner comments? All right. If not, tomorrow's spring, yay. Next up, we're on to approval of financials. Money?
Yeah, I would make a motion that we approve amendment number 2601 and amendment fiscal year amendment number 2602.
Support discussion? Not, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Carried 7-0.
I make a motion that we approve of claims and accounts for $454,591.17.
Support. Supported discussion? Not, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried 7-0.
Then make a motion to approve post audit $2,606,879.85.
Supported discussion? Not, all in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Carried 7-0. Wrong? All right, with that, we're adjourned.
I'm allergic. I'm allergic to finance.
You know what, they said, we were listening to something, they said with the higher carbon dioxide level in the air.
What's that?
Pollen stuff.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I think it's worth it. I think there's at least 13 routes.